Welcome to Meet the Musicians, powered in part by Classic of Denton. The views and opinions expressed by the show hosts and their guests are those of the show host and guests, and not necessarily those of the sponsors, DentonRadio.com, or the Denton Convention and Visitors Bureau. For more information, visit the Policies and Procedures page at DentonRadio.com. Everybody, for another episode of Meet the Musicians. I am super stoked about this episode because this episode is history.
It is.
Yeah. All right. We are sitting down with the guys from further north. We're talking with the Stanleys.
What's up?
Steve and John-Marc. How are you guys doing?
Dude, I am great.
Wonderful.
I'm great. It's
Good.
warm on this January day. Or
Who knew?
evening. But
knew?
it's warm. But yeah.
It is warm. It's crazy warm.
Yeah. I'm good, man. How are
Good.
you? So good to see you.
I am doing well, man. It's good to see you guys too.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, I mean, we go back. Like y'all, when Denton Radio was, I don't know, a fledgling, really just starting to get.
I just had that
gears
word in my
underneath
head.
it, right?
Good word.
I got a random message from some artist I had never met before, and at those times we always had to knock down everybody else's door to beg them to work with us. And then one day I open up Messenger and there's this message from this guy that says, "Hey, we're a band and we'd love to do stuff with Denton Radio." And we were like, "Really?" And I started listening to the music and I was like, "This guy's like really good." And so we got together and just became fast friends.
Yeah.
And you guys were the template that we pointed every musician to. We're like,
that's
we
awesome.
want to
That's cool.
do more of this.
Yeah.
So it's super excited to have you.
Well, you
guys
haven't shared that you played with us many
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
a few times.
So back in the day, we were Steve, Stanley, and the Mercs,
Right.
an acoustic kind of a duo trio thing, and we would have a stand-up bass, 2 acoustic guitars or whatever, and we would have a rotating group of musicians that would play with us, and we didn't have like a full-time drummer, and so you would play percussion for us. In fact, you played with us at Warped Tour in
Which
2013.
was super cool.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the
was
hottest
super,
day of
super
my
cool.
life.
It was so
That was,
hot.
oh my
Yeah.
god! Because wasn't that in the middle of July or something like that?
Late July, early August.
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
That
but-
was a scorcher.
It
but-
was, but it was awesome. It was
Yeah.
fun. But the band continued to, we continued to played around Denton, played around
Dallas, Fort
Fort Worth, New Braunfels,
New
Austin,
Braunfels, yeah.
right? Like we would
Yep.
kind of do the Texas circuit,
Yeah.
and then we started to incorporate like a full band. We got a full-time drummer and electric guitars, and we started doing like pop punk indie kind of stuff.
Very
and
cool.
What we started to do was actually split off. So we have Steve, Stanley, and the Mercs, which is more like the acoustic thing that we do. But then we have Further North, which is our indie pop punk band that we do that too. So we, like last year, we did like a Texas tour, Further North.
Hit the triangle.
Yep. And then
Very cool.
but we're still playing around Dallas. We recorded a bit. But Mark and I consistently do Steve, Stanley, and the Mercs acoustic stuff all over.
It's not
And
dead.
It's
Hey,
not.
It's not
there it is.
But we also do Further North, the indie pop punk band. So, and all of that stuff is on,
YouTube,
Spotify,
Spotify,
iTunes, all of
iTunes,
that. Yeah.
Very cool.
And every once in a while, Jake will text me. He's like, "Hey, man, you want to come play somewhere?" I'm like, "Yes, please.
Yes.
I need to see Jake. I miss
love it.
him." Yeah.
Good. Well, super excited to have you guys in the booth tonight. Not to get us too off topic, but I do want to go into the origins of Steve Stanley and the Mercs and where the name came from, just because I think it's a really cool model. Anytime somebody comes to me that's wanting to start a band, I always tell them the story of Steve Stanley and the Mercs and how that got formed, just because I think it's a very smart place to start. So if you'll just go into that story a little bit, I just think that's cool.
Yeah.
So Steve was in a situation where his wife wanted to beat him because he had stopped playing music.
she hasn't changed. She still wants to be.
I
Yeah.
understand.
It's true. So she basically told him, "Hey, let's get you some time so that you can actually do some music." And he started doing the solo acoustic thing. And I was going to every show as the dutiful, brother of a musician. And
The one fan.
yeah. So we grew up playing music together.
Singing, everything, writing music.
Yeah.
all of it. We taught each other guitar.
Literally.
Yeah.
So it
So
just made sense.
I was singing in the crowd, and all of our friends were like, "Hey, you guys need to set something up."
Yeah.
And we were at that kind of early adult life where we were trying to figure out how to balance music and an adult life.
Yeah.
And what we decided was we were going to structure and write the songs in a format where having just a couple of musicians was still a good sound. But if you added more members and kind of filled out that line, it only got better.
Yeah.
You didn't lose anything in the actual music by just having a couple of guys.
Right.
And a lot of the bands that we had been in separately is, we'd be offered a show, and then 3 out of the 4 guys, could play, and the one guy couldn't. And we were like, man, we could play that show, but we don't have our drummer or our bassist. And Mark and I were like, dude, if we could structure something to where, if we get offered a show, we could do a duo, we could do a trio, we could have 6, 7 people on stage if we need, right?
Which we've done.
We've done. And so
There you go.
what we started doing is creating like a network of musicians that knew our music and would learn it. And then when a show came up, we would say, hey, who can play?
Yeah.
And then Mark and I usually were the consistent. I want to say every once in a while I'd played like a solo thing by myself. And we just would continue that model.
Yeah.
And then what's funny is the way Further North started was we kind of got a consistent band that
was showing up consistent, like it was the same guys.
yeah, and then they
for a
were
while.
helping writing, and we were like, this is going in its direction, but we still want this organic thing that we have going too. So we kind of split it off, and it wasn't like we have to end this thing, because the whole thing with Steve Stanley and the Mercs, the community of music was that this thing never has to stop. Because every band is always like the lead singer leaves or the guitarist leaves, and then the whole thing shuts down.
apart.
We're like, why? Let's create something that never has to die, even if different guys leave, right? So we decided to do that. So we're still doing it, and we'll do another CD eventually, and we'll continue to write music and play stuff, and
Very cool.
The one missing element of that story is we're at band practice with the first, like, there were 3 of us there at practice, and Daryl turns around and looks at Steve, and he's like, we need to come up with a name for this thing.
I'm sorry, yes.
And Steve had been playing by himself solo leading up to that, and so
and we wanted to keep it something communal, right? Like something that recognized that there's not a set group of people, right? That this thing is kind of a revolving door in a good way of musicians.
And I don't remember exactly who said it, but someone was like, I kind of feel like a hired gun around here. And Steve was like, it's like y'all are like my mercenaries. And so it got shortened into Mercs. And so Steve Stanley and the Mercs was where we got billed from there.
Which is funny because now everyone's like, Mercs, like the merchandise?
Yeah.
Like, are you the Steve Stanley and the Mercantiles? You guys really like canvas material? I'm like, that's not...
They misspelled your band name.
Right.
Steve Stanley and the Marks, right?
Right, yeah. No, Mercs, short. And then, when you explain the joke, it's not funny.
It's not funny anymore.
Right.
Let's move on, guys. Let's. It was funny back then. So
Steve Stanley and the Marks would work, though.
We've been billed that way.
We've been built that way. Literally, we have, like, on the duo shows, it happens.
That's right.
It's
That's
real.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, cool. So you got a new album dropping.
That's right.
What's the Under the Clouds?
Yes.
Under the
So
Clouds.
where did this come from?
His heart.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So, so this is our pop punk indie band, and I was in a headspace where things were really rough, and life was just kind of tough for me to deal with emotionally, and I was trying to really cope with it. And one of the ways that I cope with my emotions and I deal with, my kind of internal struggle is, write songs. And so as I'm writing these songs, I don't realize, but I'm like, writing my emotions. And so we wrote a group of songs, went to go record it, and then we're like, what are these songs about? And at the same time, I took a trip, and I got in a plane, and it was rainy here where we were in Dallas. And I remember the plane took off, and we pierced the clouds. And when we did, we came above, and it was like my whole life kind of got this weird perspective where I'm like, man, even when things are dark, and this sounds very like motivational. I don't mean it like trite, but we would, whenever I got above the clouds, I got this weird perspective that, man, even when things are really dark and rainy and stormy and tough in life, like the sun's still shining above, right? And this too shall pass, right? Yeah. And so what was weird was that was really the perspective of all the songs that we had written, right? Like life can be rough. We have this song that just talks about how tough life is, but let the light shine on me, right?
That's cool.
Shine, and the chorus just says, shine it on me, right? So that's really the perspective of this record, and what that was all about, was trying to find the light in the darkness,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So of the albums that you put out, how many are in your discography now? Like
4?
how many albums have you put out?
I don't know.
With the sign guy stuff.
Yeah, I think probably 4 records.
Four albums at this point.
Yep.
Family's here, so
I
we're
know.
waving
My
to the
wife and
glass.
children are here. Yeah.
Very good. Good to see you guys.
Hey.
You got a whole fan club out there.
Yeah.
I
I
love
do,
it.
I do.
Very cool. People that are watching the video are like, "What in
I
the
know,
world?"
what?
Yeah.
We're on the glass, like there's people around. Anyway,
My lovely wife and children are
there's
here.
millions
and friends,
of people on the
yes.
other side of the glass, guys. It's
Cheering.
insane.
Rosemary.
So, yeah.
Anyways, okay,
Yeah,
focusing
so about
back
4
up.
records, but you can check it all out on Spotify, iTunes,
Yeah.
YouTube's, all of that. So Further North and Steve Stanley and the Mercs, they're billed differently.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. Okay, so we always ask this question of everybody. This is our rendition of Marry One, Kill One, Something One. And this is Write to or Duet.
Cool.
If you could pick 3 artists, living, not living, famous, not famous, one to write with, one to tour with, one to duet with, who would they be? You guys are both going to answer this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Woohoo!
All right, Johnny, you go first.
Dadgum.
I know. I
You
put
see
on
what
the
he
spot.
does?
I know.
You knew this was
I
coming.
I know. Oh, so
Because his name comes first on the marquee. He thinks he can just tell you.
The marquee.
Hey!
I can never get
in
a
a
break.
way, that means your name is above his. Then, like, I mean,
Top billing.
You've got something there.
Yeah.
I'm not
just
going to
saying,
deny
I'm
that.
just saying that's there's something for the next album. And anyways, go.
I like it.
Who are you writing with?
So I would love to write with Dustin Kensrue of Thrice.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of the evolution of that band and like kind of watching the different generations of the music and how they have changed sonically, but also lyrically, and kind of see the change going on there. So I'd love to tap into that experience with him. The guy's just phenomenal. I would love to duet with the late Tony Sly of No Use for a Name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have been singing harmonies on those albums for 20 years, and it's just like No Use for a Name is a very a foundational part of my songwriting experience. And so I would give anything to have been able to duet with him. That would have been a crazy experience. And I think tour, I would love to tour with 4 Year Strong.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys, their live show, and just we have a connection. The engineer that did one of their albums is a good friend of ours, Andy Gamal, who also has done the Steve Stanley and the Mercs stuff.
Very cool.
And so I'm just a huge fan of theirs, and I love their live shows, and I would love to experience that.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Well, okay, so if I could write with somebody, I would want to write with Dave Grohl, right? Of Foo Fighters.
Okay.
Man, yeah.
I'm a big fan. My wife's giving me the look.
Pulling out the big guns.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Dave is awesome, right? Love the Foo Fighters. So we don't, in punk rock, man, we don't say duet. Okay. So if we could have someone on our track.
Okay.
If we could collaborate on a track with somebody.
For real.
Yeah. I would say Rivers Cuomo. Right?
Okay.
Of Weezer. Okay. Because
Nice.
I'm a big
Nice.
Weezer fan. Blue Record is really the only Weezer record, just to set the record straight. It's not Pinkerton. That was a different band in my head. Blue Record is amazing. Foundational of my life.
Do you hear this?
I'm going to get so much hate for this. I'm trolling people.
Most controversial podcast to come out of DentonRadio.com.
I understand.
Right there.
And then
DentonRadio.com does not support or endorse.
that's right. I heard it.
Thoughts of the artist are their own.
And then if I could tour, I would. My wife's giving me the look. I would tour with Mike Herrera of MXPX, and or if he was too busy, because he's busy a lot, Jim Adkins of Jimmy Eat World.
Man, that's such a good choice.
I know I just got you in the gut right there.
Man,
I stole it from you. You didn't even think I was going to take it.
They're so good.
I know. Yeah.
They're so good. Their new album is incredible.
It's really good.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it.
Really?
It's
I'm
so
gonna listen
good.
to it.
You need to.
It's good.
Okay.
That
right
and-
after this. Conrad, mark it down.
Thank you. You're a good man, Conrad.
All right, guys. Everybody that is listening and watching, don't go anywhere because the best is yet to come. We're going to have a live performance right here in studio from these guys.
Are we?
Right here.
Oh,
Of
I wish I
course.
would've known
Get out
this.
of here. We're
bring a
going to wrap
guitar?
up, but don't go anywhere. Wherever you are watching or listening, stick right here. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Thanks again so much for being here, guys. Really appreciate it.
We love you, Jake.
Love you too.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We want to thank our partners and sponsors who made this show possible. And now stick around for a word from all of us here at Discover Denton.
Do you love live music? If so, make Denton, Texas your next vacation. Find more information at discoverdenton.com.